There was a certain fisherman in times gone by, advanced in age, who had a wife and 3 children, and though he was in indigent circumstances, it was his custom to cast his net every day, no more than 4 times. One day he went forth at the hour of noon to the shore of the sea, and put down his basket, and cast his net, and waited until it was motionless in the water. When he drew together its strings, and found it to be heavy, he pulled, but could not draw it up. So he took the end of the cord, and knocked a stake into the shore, and tied the cord to it. He then stripped himself, and dived round the net, and continued to pull until he drew it out, whereupon he rejoiced, and put on his clothes. But when he came to examine the net, he found in it the carcass of a donkey. At the sight of this he mourned, and exclaimed, "There is no strength nor power but in Allah, the High, the Great. This is a strange piece of fortune." And he repeated the following verse, "O thou who occupiest thyself in the darkness of night and in peril, spare thy trouble, for the support of providence is not obtained by toil." He then disencumbered his net of the dead donkey and wrung it out, after which he spread it and descended into the sea, and exclaiming, "In the name of Allah," cast it again, and waited till it had sunk and was still, when he pulled it, and found it more heavy and more difficult to raise than on the former occasion. He therefore concluded that it was full of fish, so he tied it and stripped, and plunged and dived, and pulled until he raised it, and drew it upon the shore, when he found in it only a large jar, full of sand and mud, on seeing which he was troubled in his heart, and repeated the following words of the poet, "O angry fate, forbear, or if thou wilt not forbear, relent. Neither favor from fortune do I gain, nor profit from the work of my hands. I came forth to seek my sustenance, but have found it to be exhausted. How many of the ignorant are in splendor, and how many of the wise in obscurity?" So saying, he threw aside the jar, and wrung out and cleansed his net, and begging the forgiveness of Allah for his impatience, returned to the sea the 3rd time, and threw the net, and waited till it had sunk and was motionless. He then drew it out, and found in it a quantity of broken jars and pots. Upon this, he raised his head towards heaven and said, "O Allah, thou knowest that I cast not my net more than 4 times, and I have now cast it 3 times. Then, exclaiming, "In the name of Allah," he cast the net again into the sea, and waited till it was still, when he attempted to draw it up, but could not, for it clung to the bottom. And he exclaimed, "There is no strength nor power but in Allah." And he stripped himself again, and dived round the net, and pulled until he raised it upon the shore, when he opened it, and found in it a bottle of brass, filled with something, and having its mouth closed with a stopper of lead, bearing the impression of the seal of our Lord Suleyman. No man ever obtained such absolute power over the Jinn as Suleyman ibn Daud, Solomon, the son of David. This he did by virtue of a most wonderful talisman, which is said to have come down to him from heaven. It was a seal ring, upon which was engraved the greatest name of Allah, and partly composed of brass and partly of iron. With the brass he stamped with written commands to the good Jinn, with the iron which they greatly dread, those to the evil Jinn, or devils. Over both orders he had unlimited power, as well as over the birds and the winds, and, as is generally said, the wild beasts. His wazir, Asaf, the son of Barkiya, is also said to have been acquainted with the greatest name, by uttering which the greatest miracles may be performed, even that of raising the dead. By virtue of this name, engraved on his ring, Suleyman compelled the Jinn to assist in building the Temple of Jerusalem, and in various other works. Many of the evil Jinn he converted to the true faith, and many others of this class who remained obstinate in infidelity, he confined in prisons. At the sight of this, the fisherman was rejoiced, and said, "This I will sell in the copper market, for it is worth 10 pieces of gold." He then shook it, and found it to be heavy, and said, "I must open it and see what is in it, and store it in my bag, and then I will sell the bottle in the copper market." So he took out a knife and picked at the lead until he extracted it from the bottle. He then laid the bottle on the ground and shook it, that its contents might pour out. But there came forth from it nothing but smoke, which ascended towards the sky and spread over the face of the earth, at which he wondered excessively. And after a little while the smoke collected together and was condensed, and then became agitated, and was converted into an Ifrit, whose head was in the clouds, while his feet rested upon the ground. His head was like a dome, his hands were like winnowing forks, and his legs like masts. His mouth resembled a cavern, his teeth were like stones, his nostrils like trumpets, and his eyes like lamps, and he had disheveled and dust-colored hair. When the fisherman beheld this Ifrit, the muscles of his sides quivered, his teeth were locked together, his spittle dried up, and he saw not his way. The Ifrit, as soon as he perceived him, exclaimed, "There is no deity but Allah. Suleyman is the prophet of Allah. O prophet of Allah, slay me not, for I will never again oppose thee in word, or rebel against thee in deed." "O Marid," said the fisherman, "dost thou say Suleyman is the prophet of Allah? Suleyman hath been dead 1,800 years, and we are now in the end of time. What is thy history, and what is thy tale, and what was the cause of thy entering this bottle?" When the Marid heard these words of the fisherman, he said, "There is no deity but Allah. Receive news, O fisherman." "Of what?" said the fisherman. "Dost thou give me news?" He answered, "Of thy being instantly put to a most cruel death." The fisherman exclaimed, "Thou deservest for this news, O master of the Ifrits, the withdrawal of protection from thee, O thou remote. Wherefore wouldst thou kill me? And what requires thy killing me, when I have liberated thee from the bottle, and rescued thee from the bottom of the sea, and brought thee up upon the dry land?" The Ifrit answered, "Choose what kind of death thou wilt die, and in what manner thou shalt be killed." "What is my offense," said the fisherman, "that this should be my recompense from thee?" The Ifrit replied, "Hear my story, O fisherman." "Tell it then," said the fisherman, "and be short in thy words, for my soul hath sunk down to my feet." "Know then," said he, "that I am one of the heretical Jinn. I rebelled against Suleyman the son of Daoud, I and Sakhr the Jinni, and he sent to me his wazir, Asaph the son of Barkia, who came upon me forcibly, and took me to him in bonds, and placed me before him. And when Suleyman saw me, he offered up a prayer for protection against me, and exhorted me to embrace the faith, and to submit to his authority. But I refused, upon which he called for this bottle, and confined me in it, and closed it upon me with the leaden stopper, which he stamped with the most great name, this the greatest name of Allah, which was made known to Suleyman, by which all creation, including the animal and bird kingdoms, as well as the jinns and devils, all became subjugated to him. He then gave orders to the Jinn, who carried me away, and threw me into the midst of the sea. There I remained 100 years, and I said in my heart, Whosoever shall liberate me, I shall enrich him forever. But the 100 years passed over me, and no one liberated me, and I entered upon another 100 years. And I said, Whosoever shall liberate me, I will open to him the treasures of the earth. But no one did so, and 400 years more passed over me. And I said, Whosoever shall liberate me, I will perform for him 3 wishes. But still no one liberated me. I then fell into a violent rage, and said within myself, Whosoever shall liberate me now, I will kill him, and only suffer him to choose in what manner he will die. And lo, now thou hast liberated me, and I have given thee thy choice of the manner in which thou wilt die. When the fisherman had heard the story of the Ifrit, he exclaimed, O Allah, that I should not have liberated thee but in such a time as this. Then said he to the Ifrit, Pardon me and kill me not, and so may Allah pardon thee, and destroy me not, lest Allah give power over thee to one who will destroy thee. The Marid answered, I must positively kill thee, therefore choose by what manner of death thou wilt die. The fisherman then felt assured of his death. But he again implored the Ifrit, saying, Pardon me by way of gratitude for my liberating thee. Why, answered the Ifrit, I am not going to kill thee, but for that very reason, because thou hast liberated me. O Sheikh of the Efrits, said the fisherman, do I act kindly towards thee, and dost thou recompense me with baseness? But the proverb lieth not that saith, we did good to them, and they returned us the contrary, and such, by my life, is the conduct of the wicked. Thus is the reward of he who acteth kindly to the undeserving. The Efrit, when he heard these words, answered by saying, covet not life, for thy death is unavoidable. Then said the fisherman within himself, this is a Jinni, and I am a man, and Allah hath given me sound reason. Therefore, I will now plot his destruction with my art and reason, like as he hath plotted with his cunning and perfidy. So he said to the Efrit, hast thou determined to kill me? He answered, yes. Then said he, by the most great name engraved upon the seal of Suleyman, I will ask thee one question, and wilt thou answer it to me truly? On hearing the mention of the most great name, the Efrit was agitated and trembled and replied, yes, ask and be brief. The fisherman then said, how waste it possible that thou was in this bottle? It will not contain thy hand or thy foot. How then can it contain thy whole body? Dost thou not believe that I was in it? Said the Efrit. The fisherman answered, I will never believe thee until I see thee in it. Upon this, the Efrit shook and became converted into smoke, which rose to the sky and then became condensed, and entered the bottle by little and little, until it was all enclosed, when the fisherman hastily snatched the sealed leaden stopper, and, having replaced it in the mouth of the bottle, called out to the Efrit and said, choose in what manner of death thou wilt die. I will assuredly throw thee here into the sea, and build me a house on this spot, and whosoever shall come here, I will prevent his fishing in this place, and will say to him, here is an Efrit, who to any person that deliberates him will propose various kinds of death, and then give him his choice of one of them. On hearing these words of the fisherman, the Efrit endeavored to escape, but could not, finding himself restrained by the impression of the seal of Suleyman, and thus imprisoned by the fisherman as the vilest and filthiest and least of Efrits. The fisherman then took the bottle to the brink of the sea. The Efrit exclaimed, nay, nay, to which the fisherman answered, yea, without fail, yea, without fail. The Ifrit, then addressing him with a soft voice and humble manner, said, what dost thou intend to do with me, O fisherman? He answered, I will throw thee into the sea, and if thou hast been there 1,800 years, I will make thee to remain there until the hour of judgment. Did I not say to thee, spare me? And so may Allah spare thee, and destroy me not, lest Allah destroy thee. But thou didst reject my petition, and wouldst nothing but treachery. Therefore Allah hath caused thee to fall into my hand, and I have betrayed thee. Open to me, said the Ifrit, that I may confer benefits upon thee. The fisherman replied, thou liest, thou accursed. I and thou are like the Wazir of King Yunnan and the sage Duban. What, said the Efrit, was the case of the Wazir of King Yunnan and the sage Duban? And what is their story? The fisherman answered as follows in the next story in the series. We hope you have enjoyed the story. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel.